Yeah, man. You know, we got into the business when we were just kids, like 10 and 11 years old. It wasn't some overnight thing. It happened real gradually. We were just out here, rocking our clothes backward, having fun. JD, I think one day, he just pulled up at Kris' house with his pants on backward like, yo, check this out, this is the wave. And before we knew it, that style blew up. But what a lot of people don't know is the story behind all that. The good, the bad, and the downright disturbing. Kris Kross is credited with making the backward clothes trend mainstream. And that moment in the 90s had everybody doing it. But behind the fame, there was another side to the story. One that's got people asking serious questions to this day. We were just kids, dancing, singing, and doing what we loved. But the industry? That was a whole different world. And now, years later, disturbing details are coming out about what really went down. This is exactly why some people say kids shouldn't be in the music business. Because beyond the flashing lights, the hit records, and the tours, there were things happening behind closed doors that shouldn't have been. And if you think the whole Jada Pinkett entanglement drama is recent, well, let's just say there are allegations that it goes way back. In 1993, it's been said that Jada wasn't just selling weed to Chris Kelly. She was allegedly involved with him in a way that raises a lot of eyebrows. He was 15. She was 22. Makes you think, doesn't it? Now, Chris "Daddy Mac" Smith, one half of the legendary 90s rap duo, is finally speaking out. And what he's revealing about his late friend, Chris "Mac Daddy" Kelly, is heartbreaking. For years, people have speculated that Kris Kross wasn't just a music duo, but victims of manipulation, exploitation, and ultimately abandonment by people who should have looked out for them. The names that keep coming up? Jermaine Dupri, Diddy, and yes, Jada Pinkett Smith.
Say hip hop array, and the winner is my posse, Kris Kross.
Hey yo, first of all, we want to thank God for making all this happen. Next, we want to thank our fans, because we wouldn't be here today, for selling 5 million records too.
But there's a darker side to this story. When Chris Kelly tragically passed away from a suspected OD in 2013, some disturbing rumors started swirling. People started speculating that during their rise to fame, Kris Kross may have been taken advantage of, and that Mac Daddy's struggles with substance use were his way of coping with some kind of trauma from his childhood in the industry.
Still no word on a cause of death. The 34-year-old was found unresponsive at his home. Kelly, together with Chris Smith, shot to stardom in 1992 with the song Jump. Track spent 8 weeks on the Billboard Hot 100. The member of Kris Kross were known for wearing their clothes backwards during performances. They also toured with Michael Jackson, even had their own video game. Kelly and Smith were 13 years old when they were discovered in 1991 at an Atlanta mall by producer Jermaine Dupri.
Chris and Chris were only 11 and 12 when they were discovered in an Atlanta mall. Just two kids messing around, and suddenly they were thrown into a world they weren't prepared for. Platinum records, world tours, and a level of fame that most kids could never imagine. But the price they paid? That's where things take a dark turn. Chris Kelly's passing in 2013 was ruled as an overdose, but fans have long suspected it was much deeper than that. That kind of spiral doesn't happen in a vacuum. Trauma, pressure, things he was exposed to at a young age. There's no way that didn't play a role. And while Jermaine Dupri has denied any involvement in anything shady, the stories surfacing now paint a different picture. Even JD, who played a mentor role, was only in his early 20s himself when he was guiding two kids through the industry. That kind of environment wasn't built to protect them. It was built to use them. You ever wonder who put that first drink in their hands? Who handed them their first joint? Who introduced them to things kids shouldn't be exposed to? Because let's be real, nobody just wakes up one day and starts struggling with addiction. Daddy Mac rarely talks about his time in Kris Kross or about losing Mac Daddy, and it's understandable. These two had been like brothers since first grade, long before the fame. Losing him wasn't just about losing a friend, it was about losing a part of himself. In a rare interview, he opened up about how music helps him cope, but he can't shake everything they went through as kids in the industry. And the way he talks about it, it makes you wonder what really happened behind the scenes. Kris Kross skyrocketed to fame, and their success was undeniable. Jump was a massive hit. Their albums went platinum, and they even opened for Michael Jackson on his Dangerous tour. But while they were at the top of the charts, were they also being preyed upon behind the scenes? The industry has a long, ugly history of taking advantage of young artists. And looking back, the warning signs were there.
So what really happened to Kris "Mac Daddy" Kelly? Was there ever any real proof that he was harmed by shady people in the industry? On April 29, 2013, Kris "Mac Daddy" Kelly was found unresponsive at his home in Atlanta. He was rushed to the hospital, but sadly, despite efforts to save him, he passed away 2 days later at just 34 years old. His family later told police that he had struggled with substance use for years, and losing such a talented artist so young deeply affected fans and the music world. Daddy Mac gave an emotional speech at Mac Daddy's funeral, remembering him as a kind and loyal friend who always looked out for the people around him.
You know, this been like a struggle for me every day. But you know, this morning when I woke up, this peace came over me. Cause I know Kris is in heaven with our Heavenly Father. And Donna, I just want to say to you that you've always been like a mother to me. You know it. And I know I can't fill Kris' shoes, but I'm always gonna be here.
When Kris Kelly passed away, the rumors came flooding back. His appearance had changed in the years leading up to his death. Early in his career, he was full of energy, outgoing and confident. But later, his interviews showed a different person, quieter, more withdrawn, like the weight of the world was on his shoulders. Fans couldn't ignore how drastically he changed, and they started asking, what really happened to him? Jermaine Dupri's response to Kris Kelly's death didn't sit right with a lot of people. He called Kris the son he never had, but when he was asked about Kris's age at the time of his death, he seemed unsure. Fans thought it was weird. How do you not remember the age of someone you claim was like your own child? And when asked if he kept in touch with Kris over the years, his body language said a lot more than his words did. He fidgeted, he looked uncomfortable, like there was something more to the story that he wasn't saying. Then there's Cat Williams. A lot of people brushed him off as crazy, but when you go back and listen to some of the things he was saying about the industry, it makes you wonder. Back in 2011, he straight up called Jermaine Dupri the king of PDF files. That's not just some light accusation, that's serious. And yet, JD, who was quick to fire back at random fans on Instagram, never took legal action against Cat. Why is that? But JD wasn't the only name linked to Kris Kross in a suspicious way. Let's talk about Jada Pinkett Smith. Multiple sources have suggested that she had an inappropriate relationship with Kris Kelly when he was just a kid. And while Jada is known for clapping back at anything that paints her in a negative light, she's been oddly silent about this. If it weren't true, why not deny it? Rapper Daz Dillinger, who was close to Tupac and produced for him, dropped a bombshell in an interview, saying that back in 1993, Jada was more than just friends with Kris Kelly. And when you put that together with other disturbing allegations about her and Will's so-called mentorship of young men, it starts to look real suspicious. With all these stories resurfacing, people are connecting the dots. Could there be truth to what Cotillions was saying about JD? And was Kris Kelly's tragic fate really the result of childhood trauma at the hands of industry predators? These questions aren't going away anytime soon. Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't miss the next video. We've got more to uncover.